Hello everyone, welcome back to Chicken Little. Get ready for your head to hurt. Because this is a very spinny level where you do a lot of spinning around with the camera. It's a little bit disorienting when I first played through this, and I'm also not really that good at it. We are entering the part of the game that I have very little familiarity with, and actually, in the next part, we will be in, like, completely new territory for me. Like, it's the first time that I've seen it, because I didn't even get that far on the stream. Although, now that I kind of know where the game ends, I can see that I was fairly close when I was doing the stream. But, yeah, we are fish. We are in a tube. I don't really remember the context of this. I think fish is in the tube, and I think after this is when they do the, like, escape from the place, the spaceship, and then, yeah, this is the big one. So as you can see, this is a little bit of a longer one compared to the other Chicken Little ones. I've kind of operated more in the like 15-20 minute range with these ones, but this one's closer to 25 because we have a big chonky level to do, and I didn't feel like splitting it up into the next video. The timing on these levels in the next few parts, as we near the end of the game, is gonna be a little bit weird, because, I don't know, there's just not that many, like, good cutoff points, for these levels. The platforming levels are getting to be, like, just a little bit longer than one full normal video of this LP, and, like, so if I have a shorter level like this in with it, I would like to include both of them in their entirety, but one of them, like, there are some times where if I include all of both of them, it's gonna be, like, 30 minutes long, which I don't really want. That's kind of getting onto the higher end of the length of video that I like to do, so... Anyway, but this part is cool. It very much reminds me of the Rocket Rodeo stuff from Creature from the Krusty Krab, and I actually forgot to say something that was in my head when I was playing through the Alien Abbey levels, and all the other levels that have that same music. The music in that level reminds me of... It sounds like something that would be in Creature from the Krusty Krab. I can't really describe why, but it just has that kind of zany sort of sci-fi vibe. I know that Creature from the Krusty Krab isn't necessarily a space game, but it does take place in people's dreams. There is a part where you're in space, and there's a lot of, like, boop, 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 beep, boop, beep, boop, boop kind of songs in it. And here we are going into the face of God. That'd be crazy if in real life you were, you know, you're just going into the light at the end of the tunnel, and then it asks if you want to save your game. That would be pretty, that'd be pretty twisted, honestly.
Poor fish.
He was the bravest fish I ever knew.
He even let me wear his helmet once.
So yeah, I've sped this part up because it's part of the movie, obviously. But this is the part... this is one that I wish I could have not sped up, at least this part of, because I like the part where Runt is doing his little whimper. It is weird watching these, having seen that movie many times, and knowing that there are a lot of, like, elements of the sound mix that are left out here. I also have a feeling that, like, the alien child element of this movie's plot was like added very late because it's not in the game at all. Like, I think the video game model for the alien baby is in it once for like 20 seconds and it doesn't do anything. Whereas in the movie, it's like a pretty decent chunk of the movie. It's like pretty much the second half of the second act and all the third act is revolving basically around the alien kid. All these characters' faces are so fucking funny. They're so goofy looking with their weird mouths. It's very weird. I have a feeling like if I had gotten this far as a kid in this game, I would have thought this was like dope as fuck, and I would want like every video game to be like this. I think that was the thing that was appealing to Chicken Little, both the movie and the game to me as a kid. One of the principal things was I liked the, you know, the town setting sort of normally at the beginning. I like all that stuff, but I mostly liked the alien stuff. Like I already talked about liking the mechanical design of the alien suits. I like the spaceships and stuff. I don't know. It was just very much the kind of thing that would get me hype as a kid, and you know, I can see why. Personally, it's a good little time, and I don't know. I don't have anything cool or smart to say about it. Also, I did in fact forget to finish a thought in the last video. I think I actually forgot a couple, but there's only one that I remembered and took the made the effort to write down and try to remember to say. I started an anecdote about like one of the dumbest tweets I've ever seen, and then I ended up going on some rant about like Twitter and Instagram and how websites are bad. But the tweet, I don't remember the context I brought it up in, but it was more relevant than whatever's going on right now, basically. Also, I stupidly thought that you're supposed to like kill these things. As far as I'm aware, you really should just ignore them. Because, yeah, hitting them, they do a big boom and they kill you. You can hit them from far away, I think, but, like, with the spotlights and everything, it's really easy to just, like, get fucked if you try to do that, so. And, luckily, the characters following you don't actually, as far as I'm aware, you don't have to actually, like, pay attention to them or like make sure they're not running into anything. They'll just like appear behind you, and wherever you go, as long as you're not getting caught, they'll be fine, which is precisely how it should be for someone like me. Like, you don't have to look back. He's definitely slower than you, and you know, just based on the trajectory of the light, would definitely be getting caught by that spotlight, but it doesn't, because this is a nice game for babies like me. Almost got my ass licked there. So the tweet, yes, I don't have it in front of me. I don't know verbatim the thing, but someone was sharing a video of, it was footage from the moon landing sped up, and it was, you know, I don't want to say going viral, but it was doing numbers on Twitter because it's a funny video because it's sped up and they look like they're like hopping and doing silly things because of the low gravity and everything. And someone quote tweeted that video and said, like, you can't tell me that this doesn't look fake as shit, like, we definitely didn't land on the moon. And of course, a bunch of people in the replies were like, you know, it would actually be logistically and financially more undoable to fake going to the moon convincingly with the technology of the 60s than it was to just actually go there. There's also, you know, evidence of it and all of that shit, and all of the things that they were pointing to of like, you know, how are they walking around? And this was the dumbest one for me. Someone was like, how are they walking around like that? I thought that there was supposed to be no gravity in space. and not as like, you know, an inquisitive like, oh, that you know, doesn't conform with my original idea, would you like to give me some information to update my beliefs? It wasn't anything like that. It was like trying to be smug, like, oh, checkmate, there's no gravity in space. And someone said, you know, they're on the moon. There is gravity on the moon. It's just lower than the Earth's, which is why they're hopping around like that. But there's gravity on the moon, just like there's gravity on Earth. It is a huge celestial body. They all have gravity and pull other things toward them, which is the reason that we have the tides on Earth. And their whole response was, okay, well, the moon is in space. And I'm not even like mad, I'm just baffled, and like, I don't know, sometimes you see shit on the internet and you wonder how people even remember to fucking breathe. And also just the moon landing is such a boring thing to have like conspiratorial thinking about. Like, I don't know, I don't really see the point in lying about it. I don't like care. Going to the moon is like cool, like being like going to space is actually like neat and everything. And I don't know, there's like actual conspiracies. There's actual things that like if they are proven to be true would have real consequence. Not, you know, the fact like their being known to be true wouldn't be of consequence, but the things themselves are of more consequence than they went to the moon or they pretended to go to the moon. Like, I don't know, to what end? I don't know. I just don't buy it. I think there's more interesting things to like think you're not getting the full story on. I mean, is there a possibility of there having been some weird bullshit with the moon landing that is kept under wraps? Certainly. I wouldn't discount that possibility, but the fact of the moon landing, I don't have any interest in disputing or entertaining any disputes of it. And mostly because most of the popular disputes of it make you sound like a fucking moron.
Be quiet!
Related to something I was just saying about how there are conspiracies that, you know, themselves, the fact of them themselves are consequential, but the revelation of them wouldn't really be. That's something I've been thinking about a lot, and I'm not going to get too deep into it because, you know, I guess this is a little bit of spoilers, inside information into my other channel, but on my main channel, I've been trying to think of things for me and JT to do together on the main channel, and I'd like him to do some co-commentary on this channel at some point, but I have to find something that we'd both be able to talk about. But one thing we were thinking of is picking a sort of like subgenre of films or a director's filmography every month or two, and you know, just like 4, 5, 6 films in that category, and just making a video sort of talking about them in a general way. And one of the ones that we talked about was like 70s conspiracy thrillers, stuff like Parallax View, China Syndrome, Executive Action. If we're talking about the moon landing, Capricorn 1. I think a lot of people would probably include All the President's Men in that, but for one thing, it is a conspiracy thriller, but it's not the kind that I'm thinking of because it is about a real conspiracy, and also we've both seen that movie plenty of times, so I don't think we would really have much of anything of interest to say about it. But also JFK, it's not a 70s one, it's from the 90s, but Oliver Stone's JFK would very much fit in the sort of space that we are thinking of. But in thinking about those types of movies, and also with recently watching The X-Files, I'm currently on Season 3 of The X-Files with Liv, X-Files, it doesn't so much do this, at least not so far. It's still pretty early days into the show, so it could change, and you know, how it ends, we'll see. But something that I've found in a lot of conspiracy media, especially from the 70s, and I think it was especially potent in the sort of post-Watergate era because of it being in the post-Watergate era, where, you know, this stuff was revealed and it had consequences. You know, the president was... Well, the president resigned. He was about to be impeached, but, you know, so I guess it actually kind of stopped short of... It didn't stop short of having consequences, but it did stop short of having, like, actual attempt at, you know, justice or whatever, you know, to whatever degree you think that might have happened, had the impeachment gone forward. But there's this prevailing notion in a lot of those sorts of things, and really with a lot of conspiracy thinking in general. Like, I see it with QAnon people, and with liberal Russiagate people, where there's an expectation that, like, revealing it, that just knowledge of a conspiracy thing will change anything. And it doesn't, because now we live at a point where every new... we're in a state of hyper-reality, of hyper-normalization, where things become almost instantly normalized. As soon as a new... as soon as another curtain is pulled back on the sort of, you know, the darkness underneath, you know, the global elite and the global order of things in general, they all just get subsumed into our sort of collective conscious understanding of what is the world and what is the country, and by, you know, by that sort of way of thinking, what is normal. And, you know, that's not to say, like, accepted or liked by people, or, you know, something that people are okay with, but something that people have resigned themselves to the fact of, and have begun to take for granted as a thing that's happening, with no actual movement toward, you know, anything being done about it, or anything changing, or the bad things stopping. And oh yeah, this is pretty funny. You can push Fish and Abby around, as far as I can tell, as much as you want. So I included a little bit of that here. Yeah, you can really just push this guy around. I kind of wanted to push him outside and just leave him there. I think that would be pretty funny. But I didn't want to waste much more time, because I knew that this was a sort of long thing. Because, yeah, now we have to get all the fucking coins. But, yeah, you can move Abby as well. Can't move Runt, because he's big. He's too big for that. It would be funny if you could just push him around as well, and he was completely weightless. I wonder what is different property-wise between his model and Abby and Fish's. Is it just that they're smaller, and he's big, and that's what makes him be able to... I feel like there has to be something actually about the model that is different so that it behaves differently, because I feel like you can make a model as big as you want and still have it, you know, be weightless and be able to be pushed around like that if you wanted to, or if you didn't care. But anyway, yeah, there's like an expectation in a lot of conspiratorial thinking and a lot of conspiracy media that, like, people knowing will be the thing that stops it, and I just don't, especially in the era of, like, people knowing about, like, the Epstein cabal and whatnot. I just don't think that is really gonna happen, because at the end of the day, all that kind of stuff with the elite, or whatever you want to call them, is just part and parcel of the system working as it does, which is not to say that it's good or that things are going well, just that, you know, these are the things that lubricate the gears of the society we live in, and so they can't stop without any sort of actual meaningful oppositional force to them. And, you know, just public knowledge is not, I mean, you know, the CIA and a number of other, you know, organizations and people have confirmed a bunch of terrible things and, you know, what has really come of them. And there are some episodes of X-Files that actually kind of deal with that phenomenon head on of, you know, yeah, okay, well, we might get this out and everyone will know, but will that mean anything? Like, will anybody care? Will it stop anything? And most of the time the show answers no. And the show also just seems to generally take a position of, you know, you never truly knowing the full truth of things. But yeah, and like I said, I see it with QAnon and Russiagate. They both seem to operate from this assumption that whether it's, you know, the devil-worshipping Democrat sex cabal that, you know, Donald Trump is somehow, you know, trying to stop, which really is the craziest part of QAnon. Like, the idea that there are rich elites doing sex crimes is honestly, oh yeah, hey, there's this guy that I hit earlier. I guess he wound up here. You know, that fact is not really something that is even up for debate. Or, you know, or at the very least is quite likely given the, we'll call it circumstantial evidence that we've seen. But yeah, the craziest part of that whole theory is that, you know, Donald Trump is, for one thing, not privy to it, and even more than that, is trying to stop it, or has been successful at stopping it, but we just don't know. And that, you know, Obama and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton have all been executed in a secret military tribunal. And then, on the other hand, with the liberals and with Russiagate, you know, if it's, you know, the whatever vague sort of coordination between Trump and Russia that you believe is happening, whether it's either one of those two things, and I don't mean to conflate the validity or you know, the level of truth in either of them, or compare them any more than just the fact that both of them seem to, the followers of both of them seem to believe that people knowing these things will change something. And I mean, you kind of saw that with all of the Russia stuff when it was being actively investigated. Was, you know, liberals were getting very excited about, like, reports and testimony. And they would come and go, they would confirm the thing that the people who believe it already believed, and the people who don't believe it are still not convinced, and nothing happened. Everybody got away with, you know, whatever they are alleged to have done, or be doing. And, you know, it's just a little silly. I don't really have anything more insightful to say about it, just than that, other than just the observation of it as a phenomenon. Like I said, hopefully once me and JT, if we ever do make this sort of video, this little 70s, this conspiracy thriller roundup video that we're planning on, hopefully we can go a little bit more in-depth into this concept, because the idea is, you know, that we wouldn't just be, like, reviewing each of these movies, but that we would kind of talk about how these movies sort of relate to politics and history and conspiratorial thinking then and now, more generally. But anyway, we are flying into the Bell to warn the people of the aliens. Next time, we will be seeing the consequences of that. See you then.